You can go ahead, Karen.
I don't see Karen anymore.
We lost her.
Lost her. Let's move on.
You're right. We did lose Karen. All right. While we're waiting for Karen to come back, I will go ahead and take care of the opening ceremony duties. It is February 24th. This is Dallas Social Toastmasters, of course. We're recording the meeting, so just so that you're aware. And most of you are familiar with Zoom. If you are not familiar with a couple of pieces of Zoom, you will notice probably if you're on an iPad, excuse me, a PC or a Mac, you've got a bunch of icons of individuals. In there, there's a ... If you need to, you can do something with your own or with somebody else's video. You can stop or start your own video. You can pin someone in particular. If you're speaking, you can pin a timer to make sure that the timer stays in the window so that you can see the timing flags as they're created. I'm going to try to keep most people on mute most of the time while I can. And it looks like Karen is back.
Yeah.
You'll need to give her co-host again.
Yeah, I'll need to give you co-host. 1 second, please. Thank you, co-host. All right, go ahead. I did the introductions on Zoom. Go ahead, Karen, and take care of showing us the agenda and how to find that.
Okay. You'll have to go to Dallas Social Toastmasters website. And once you get to the website, you will go to the members section.
You're not sharing, Karen.
No, I'm not. There we go. And go to the members section, look for current agenda. And there's our current agenda. And our Toastmaster tonight is Dagan Newland. And go ahead and take it over, Dagan.
I'll actually take over for Invocation Pledge. Thank you, Karen. For Invocation Pledge, I'm here to welcome everybody. So thank you all for coming tonight. And I'm also here to remind you a couple things and then lead you into the Pledge of Allegiance and also something that may make you think a little bit. First, I want to ask you, if you could, make sure that you stay on mute when you're not speaking, and also just don't have any distracting noises when you are speaking so that it doesn't distract the audience from what you're trying to say. For the Pledge of Allegiance, I would like to ask anyone who is so inclined to join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Also wanted to note this for our guests, that when we're in person, we will clap and have a lot of applause throughout the meeting. However, when we're here online through Zoom, the way that we applaud is to just shake our hands like that. That's the sign language for applause. So you're welcome to do that, and you'll see people doing that throughout the meeting, throughout the entirety of the meeting. I would like to present a quote for you that was said by Sir Edmund Hillary, and it's appropriate for him especially, but it's also appropriate for all of us if we just think about it for a moment. The quote is this: "It is not the mountain we conquer, but ourselves. It is not the mountain that we conquer, but ourselves." So think about that. We always think about obstacles in our way, but it's really ourselves that we need to build up. And if we've conquer all of our fears, like coming here to Toastmasters to improve ourselves, then we can conquer ourselves. And by that, we will have conquered the mountain. At this point, I would like to ask, well, before we go to our Toastmaster for the evening, I'm going to ask our club president to welcome our guests. Mr. Lee King, Distinguished Toastmaster.
Yes, looks like we have several guests for this evening. Looks like we have Maddie. We have Sandra. Chad. and I
Hi.
believe that's
Hi,
it
Sandra.
I'm sorry.
Hi, Sandra.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we just like
Start
to,
with my presentation.
I'm sorry.
Start my presentation.
Oh, okay. At this time, I just will go ahead and turn things over. We will ask for comments at the end of the meeting. And please help me welcome our chess master for this evening, Dagan.
All right, thank you, Lee. All right, so today's topic is self-care, and I'll get to a little bit about that. But first, I want to go over the duty holders first. So our first duty holder today is going to be our timer, Adelita. So Adelita, can you please explain your timing rules?
Thank you, Toastmaster. As time, I will be helping the speakers practice expressing a thought within a specific time. My duty during this meeting is to time prepared speeches, table topics, speeches, and speech evaluation. The green card here is, I don't know if you can see that right here, is for a 5-minute to 7-minute prepared speeches. I will show this green card in the background for the 5-minute mark, and the yellow card for the 6-minute mark, and the red card for the 7-minute mark. And you will have 30 seconds to finish. For table topics, each speaker is encouraged to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. I will show the green card background for at least 1 minute, and the yellow card for 1 minute and 30 seconds, and the red card at your 2-minute mark, and you'll have 30 seconds to finish. For evaluators, you have 2 to 3 minutes. The green card, again, is for the 2-minute mark, the yellow card for the 2-minute and 30-second mark, and the red card for 3 minutes, and you have 30 seconds to finish. If you speak under the time or over the time more than 30 seconds, then you will be disqualified and will not be eligible for an award. However, for table topics, you must reach at least 1 minute. No grace for that. I will report qualifying times when called upon throughout the meeting. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, thank you. And just real quick, I'm just aware that I made a mistake on the agenda. Mark Sims is supposed to be the general evaluator, but I have put down Rob Giles. So Mark Sims will be the general evaluator for this. So just FYI, just make that notation. But don't tell our next duty holder, our grammarian, is Karen Lee. So Karen Lee, can you please go over the grammarian role real quick?
As grammarian this evening, I'm going to keep track of any interesting uses of the English language. And also as grammarian, I get to pick a word of the day. And today I picked the word drive, which is to operate and control the direction and speed of a motor vehicle. That's one meaning of the word drive. He got into the car and drove off. And also during the table topics, in order to qualify for getting the table topics award, you'll have to use the word of the day, which is drive. So I will keep track of the usage during table topics and at other times during the meeting, and I'll give a report when called upon. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, thank you, Karen. Our next duty holder is going to be our vote counter. It's going to be Jessica. So Jessica, please explain the vote counter role.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters and welcome guests, as vote counter, I will accept votes through the private chat to me and count the votes after the audience votes for best speaker, best table topic speaker, best evaluator, and best of the big three. The big three are the Toastmaster, the table topics master, and the general evaluator. I will record which person wins in each category. I will not cast a vote myself, except in the case of a tie, in which case I will cast a vote to break the tie. However, I will not announce that there was a tie vote. Again, place your vote by sending me a message in private chat only to me. At the end of the meeting, I will announce the winners. You may also, and I encourage that you do, send comments to each speaker, evaluator, and table topics participant by sending private chat messages to the person directly. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, thank you, Jessica. Our next duty holder is going to be our odd counter. It's going to be Madeline. Madeline, can you please explain the odd counter?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, my duty as the odd counter is to listen carefully for any verbal distractions, such as you knows, ands, so's, buts, and any other filler words or sounds. I will also keep track of repeated words like the, and I. Lastly, I will keep track of any extra long pauses, particularly if they are distracting. Normally, when I hear these crutch words, I would use a clicker to let the speaker know that they're using the crutch words. However, while we're virtual, I will not be using the clicker during these speeches. I will be keeping track of the number of these types of speaking errors in writing for each person that speaks. The big three: prepared speakers, table topic contestants, evaluators, and duty holders. And I will give a report when called upon by the general evaluator at the end of the meeting. Thank you, and back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, thank you. All right, last duty holder tonight is going to be our posture monitor by Mark Schroeder. So Mark, can you please explain the posture monitor role?
Thank you, Dagan. Be happy to. As posture monitor, my role tonight is to look for posture, in particular good or bad posture, things that detract from your message or things that contribute to your message. I'm going to be making notes during the meeting as it progresses, and we'll provide a report at the end. In general, I also have what is normally one of the noisier roles, in that I make noise during all of the parts of the meeting except for the prepared speeches. And I'm not going to do that tonight just because it doesn't really work well on Zoom. So everything will be a report at the end. But I'm going to be looking for things that detract from your message and cause me to call attention to the gesture rather than the message you're trying to get across, or things that contribute to your message. Mr. Toastmaster.
All right. Thank you, Mark. And as they say, my topic today is self-care. Now, a lot of y'all know that I have a YouTube channel talking about beard stuff, and I'm involved in the beard community. And I've noticed that a lot of guys that just come in the beard community and they find out about the beard products and stuff, they start taking care about their beard hair, and they also mention that leads to taking care of themselves. So it's kind of amazing how some people like that, they start taking care of one thing and it leads to taking care of other things like their self. So I thought that'd be a good topic to talk about, self-care. There's different types of self-care. You got your physical self-care, social self-care, mental self-care, spiritual self-care, and emotional self-care. So like for, physical self-care, are you getting adequate sleep? Is your diet fueling your body well? Are you taking charge of your health? And are you getting enough exercise? Things like that is when you talk about, physical self-care. If you take care of these different things, physically, you're going to feel better. And over, like I said, you're going to overall feel better. So that's just, generally self-care. When it comes to social care, are you getting enough face-to-face time with your friends? I know it's a little bit harder in these times, but as things opening up more and more, you should be able to do that a lot better now. Are you doing nurturing your relationship with friends and family? So you got to take care of that social side too, because I don't know if you may have heard news or other places that a lot of people that have been shut since this pandemic have had some more, mental issues because they're enclosed and kept in the cells because they're afraid to get out and things like that. So that does weigh heavy on the mind sometimes. So you got to make sure you're, out there getting out to, talk to your friends, your family, if it's like on a Zoom call, at least that's face to face somewhat, so you got to take care of that kind of self-care as well. And because, mental self-care, are you making enough time for activities to mentally stimulate you? Or are you doing proactive things that help you stay mentally healthy? Now, when I think about that, I think about, maybe games that challenge your brain to think, like math games or Sudoku or, those type of games that mentally challenge you to think. And because if you're not challenging yourself to think, your brain, over time actually starts to dwindle away and you start not thinking, very good and, things like that. So you want to keep things that are going to be mentally challenging. When it comes to spiritual self-care, what questions are you asking yourself about your life and experience? Are you engaging in spiritual practice that find you fulfilling? Now, that's not really related to maybe religion or anything like that, but just things that can make you spiritually happy. Just things that make you happy, things like that. Are you involving yourself in things like that? So, like meditation, things like that. Just things that make you calm and soothe your maybe temper. If you've got anger, something like that. You want to be able to alleviate that. Maybe just meditation or something like that. And when it comes to like emotional self-care, or do you have enough healthy ways to process your emotions? Do you incorporate activities into your life that help you feel recharged? When it comes to emotional, you don't want to keep emotions trapped inside you. You want to be able to have a release to that, whether it be a best friend you can talk to get that stuff out of you, because you don't want to build things up, because when you build things up in yourself, that just kind of wears down on your mental state as well. So you want to be able to get that out to somebody, talk to somebody you trust, whether it be your best friend or their family member, or somebody that don't even know this willing to listen to you. So all different things like that will help you in your self-care journey. So now actually we want to move on to our prepared speaker tonight. We have one prepared speaker, and that's going to be John Vessels. And evaluating John tonight is going to be Tom. So Tom, can you please talk about how he's going to be evaluated tonight?
Thank you, Dagan. So the title of John's speech is Future Changes. And the project that John is working on is effectively communicating change to a group or organization. So the purpose of this project is to practice those skills. The purpose of the speech that John's giving tonight is to practice speaking about change. So John will be delivering a speech about either a real or a hypothetical change. It could be humorous, it could be informational, but it should reflect an understanding of the audience. The things that I will be looking for, the things that are in the evaluation criteria, are really two things. One is how effectively John communicates the change with tone, and the other is, does John provide ample information on the impact of the change? John's speech is between 5 and 7 minutes in duration. Back to you, Dagan.
All right, thank you, Tom. So John, please remember having the timer up so you can see them. So let's welcome John Vessels with Future Changes. John Vessels.
Thank you, Dagan. And I want to thank all the ladies and gentlemen for coming to my meeting tonight. As timekeepers and managers, of course, you all use my scheduling system that ties into our time and labor. And we're doing an upgrade right now, and it's going to bring in a few changes that are very different from what we've been experiencing for the last few years. Now, one of those big changes are going to affect the timekeepers and the managers. And that change is when we do our schedules, We create schedules in advance for staffing your floors and your units. A lot of your departments do not pre-schedule and are populating it in the day of or the day after the staff works. Now, this isn't really advantageous, but one thing that we are getting in this new change is a marker that's going to show that people that weren't scheduled and how they're on the schedule now, so you can differentiate those two. That is a little annoying from what we're accustomed to using, but it's the way they've designed the system to work now, and we're just going to have to learn to live with it. Now, what I'm talking about is all you use the schedule, and you see every day you schedule somebody like 7A, 7P, and tomorrow their punches will come in from our time kept clocks. Now, if they're pre-scheduled, everything looks fine. It looks normal as we're accustomed to seeing. What is going to show up now for people that you didn't have scheduled, people that came into work that you didn't know about, and especially in your departments that aren't scheduling in advance, you're going to see 2 rows of every task on every day for somebody that is not scheduled to work. Now, it's an initial indicator, and the next night when we resend the schedule down or the punch file down, that extra row will go away because now it sees that there is a scheduled date. Now, personally, I think it's a little awkward, but it does help the timekeepers and the managers know that people showed up at a working time in your call center that you may or may not have been aware of. That does help managers know if people are showing up when they're not supposed to or clocking in. Sometimes we've had a crash where people are clocking in but not really at work. Of course, this is fraud, but this will help you see that. If you didn't expect them to be there, then you're going to know it right off. Now, as I said, it's going to be a little awkward for the timekeepers because they go in and they check everybody's schedules and time every single day to make sure people are getting paid correctly or getting paid for their vacation or whatever needs to be put in if they didn't show up, or like sick pay. But they still will just know, I mean, just take it in stride. If there's 2 punches, one's going to go away unless they're split their time, and you can still go in and do the things and the changes you need to make and modify to do. It is going to be just a little bit different from what we're accustomed to seeing. It wasn't, I think, the best idea that they could have done, but they thought it worked better that way. And I've actually asked the vendor to look at that and modify it, put it back the way we're accustomed to seeing it, because we've had 17 years now with this system and we're used to it. Now you have to ask me, well, why are we going with this upgrade if we have this kind of a future change that we don't really like? Because I understand people don't like change, but the big driver for this is the fact that we have all the other initiatives at the hospital within staffing, within better comprehensive staffing, and also with keeping up with workloads and productivity that our CEO and other directors and VPs are wanting us to put into play. And for me to do that, we have to do this upgrade, because included in this upgrade is a new availability of a mobile app. And the end users, the regular employees that aren't scheduling this system, will find this handy. They can now go on their Android or iPhone and hit an icon and go directly into the system where they can see and pick up additional shifts and opportunities, swap shifts with other staff that we do all online through our online scheduling portal for staff anyway. So they'll enjoy it. And that is one of the big drivers, is that the managers and the CEOs want staff to be able to go in and look and pick up shifts in other departments. We've had, staffing issues ever since time began. But really, ever since COVID came along, the workload at hospitals has been so heavy that they're looking for better ways for them to cover shifts easily without a lot of manual phone calls and reaching out to staff and begging and pleading for people to come in. Now they can just send notices out through the app. The staff can pick them up and hopefully pick up the shifts, so we won't ever be short. Well, we'll always be short. It's the real world. But this is one of our goals, and that's why we must put the system in and go ahead and get started with it. And maybe soon they can patch it and make it stop doing this double entry stuff, and I'd be pleased. So thank you all. I will also send out emails with tip sheets and everything to explain in detail for people that could not make this meeting. And I will speak to you directly when we get ready to put the upgrade in, which should be in about 3 weeks. All right. Thank you, everyone. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, thank you, John. So real quick, we need to take care of is a timer's report. Did our speaker qualify on time? Your verbal yes.
Sorry, I was double muted here.
Ah, okay.
Yes, qualified 6.39 seconds.
All right, thank you. All right, so real quick, more on the self-care topic. Why is self-care important? It can reduce your anxiety and depression, reducing your stress, improving resilience, improving your happiness, improving your, increasing your energy, reducing your burnouts, stronger interpersonal skills. So that's just a few things of why self-care is important. And you also should maybe develop a self-care plan if you truly want to get into, improving yourself and taking care of yourself. And by doing that, just access your needs, consider your stressors, devise a self-care strategy, plan for challenges, and just, take small steps and schedule time to focus on your needs. And here are just a few tips, tips for self-care, just some random tips, just good diet, good exercise, get some good rest, meditation, if you're into that, people support, have, from your family, your peers, get good nourishment, get some time alone. Sometimes you need time alone for self-care as well, and have some time off, get some rest, and have some playtime too. You need your playtime, and exercise responsibly for your well-being. All right, so that's all I have about self-care, and I hope you enjoyed that good information. I think it's really great information for self-care. So we're going to move on to our table topics, who is going to be Justin Faust. So Justin, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster Dagan. Self-care is a very important topic. I think we all need to explore it and think about it for our own lives. We also need to think about getting away sometimes. Sometimes we need to go to a special place and just relax. A place we can be relaxed and comforted. I know over Valentine's Day, I bought my older sister a trip to the spa. She's gonna go to the spa, get a massage, manicure, pedicure. So Rob Giles, tell me about a nice experience you had with going to the spa, maybe getting a manicure or pedicure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Topic Master. I must say that I have never gone to a spa. I've never experienced that. I don't know whether I didn't have the drive to do that, or if it was just that I felt that it might be awkward. For myself, I don't really feel a need to have that luxury, I guess, that some other people may feel that it is. For me, my way to relax is to go for a walk or a bike ride, and to even do it at a time when there's not a lot of people out. So you have peace and quiet, you can hear the birds chirping, you see squirrels running around, And that's really what keeps me, at a point where I can relax, regroup, refresh. And in a sense, that is my spa. Doesn't mean that for myself that I would actually be opposed to going to a spa. I think if the right person asked me to go with them, then at that point, I may choose to do that. But as of now, never done it. And like I said, probably just didn't have that oomph, didn't have that drive to do so. Back to you, Mr. Topic Master.
Thank you, Rob. I do actually share that with you. I've never actually been to a spa as well. I have gotten a few massages though. And I think it's really important while getting a massage, it's really important to relax and just let the massage happen and really enjoy it. Get really into it. And that really reminds me of sleeping. When I sleep pitch black in the dark, no noises, no night light, no TV on, just perfectly dark. That's my night routine. So I would ask Madeline, what's your sleep routine?
Thanks, Mr. Topic Master. My sleep routine can vary. So ideally, it would be a quiet, dark room where I would be undisturbed, but I have 3 little creatures that live with me. And so typically my sleep routine involves a cat butt on my face or someone pawing at me for food at 4 a.m. I have a new kitten that likes to get the zoomies at about 2 a.m. My dog is old and can get sick, so sometimes we have to go out in the middle of the night. So I would say overall, I have a very serious drive to get a good night's rest. And I would say that I've really adapted to my current environment and all the little energy that is around me and awake at all hours of the night. So it's an ongoing process, and the kitten is calming down. I am training my cat to not put her butt on my face, my other cat. And then I'm working with my dog so he won't get sick in the middle of the night. We have a new dog food going on. So it's a work in progress. We're getting there. And I have full faith that I will have a full night's sleep and it will be totally quiet and there will be no zoomies or cat butts in the near future. Back to you, Mr. Topic Master.
I think that's always important, training your pets and really trying to get that sleep routine down. I know I grew up, I had 2 dogs growing up and a cat, and it was very hectic. So that can definitely disrupt your sleep. But if you can get that down, get your sleep good, that's fantastic, man. What's also important when it comes to self-care is we work hard. We definitely work hard. So we need a vacation sometimes. Every once in a while, we need a getaway trip. If it's over the weekend or even a week or 2, we just need to get away from it all and just relax. Let the environment soothe us. So I'll go to Karen Lee. And can you tell me about a interesting vacation that you took that really soothed you and you really enjoyed?
Hey, Mr. Toastmaster, an interesting vacation that I took. Well, I didn't have to drive, but I did go with my brother and my 2 nieces and my brother-in-law and my sister. We went to Crystal Mountain in Washington State, and we did get a chance to go sledding, and we also got a chance to at least try to build some snowmen. We couldn't get the snow to stay together very well to build snowmen, but we did try. And we spent a lot of time out in the snow, walking around, a lot of time pitching snowballs at each other and some of the kids that were there. But we had a great time and we enjoyed ourselves. Spent a couple of days there, and we also got a chance to ride the gondola. And this was a ski resort, so a lot of people were there, and we got a chance to eat up at the top of the mountain where we went, and enjoyed that. So back to you, Mr. Table Talks Master.
Thank you, Karen. That sounds very interesting, the ski resort. I've actually never been skiing, but watching the Winter Olympics this year, and I really want to actually go skiing and snowboarding. That's on my to-do list. So we let people go before. I want to know, so this is our impromptu speech portion. To qualify, you must meet a minute and also say our word of the day, which is drive. I'm wondering, do any of our guests want to go? Give it a try. Do we have any volunteers from our guest? Oh, Chad? Okay. Okay. Good job, Chad. So, Chad, let me ask you a question real quick. Getting into, self-care, what healthy foods have you incorporated into your diet lately to really improve your overall health?
Thank you. So what I've incorporated into my diet to improve my overall health is to try to get more vegetables. So I started making breakfast smoothies with a variety of fruits and vegetables in there so I could get, 3 or 4 servings right at the day. And that makes it easier because I tend to avoid ordering vegetables whenever I go out and eat. I have a strong drive for like bread, macaroni and cheese, anything fried. I must feel a little bit disappointed if it's not fried, but I realize that that's not very healthy. And I also am interested in taking care of myself. And I notice when I do that, I sleep better and I feel better and I have more energy for the day. And then I'm able to put more energy out into others instead of just crawling along trying to get myself through the day. And that's how I incorporate more healthy food into my diet. Back to you, Justin.
Okay, thank you, Chad. I mean, that's also very important. I eat a ton of vegetables now. I eat broccoli almost every day. Almost with every meal, I eat vegetables and avocado. I get my avocados in of vegetable. I had a smoothie yesterday. So, blackberries, tomato 3, it's always good to get in, those fiber and, the vegetables and, everything to stay healthy, stay regular and have an overall good health. So I would ask one more. Do we have any other volunteer that wants to go? Any other guest that wants to volunteer?
You did also have a potential for Lisa. She said she would take one.
Oh, okay. Okay, Lisa. So Dagan mentioned this earlier, but it was pretty interesting. So I wanted to incorporate it into my topics. Phone games. I play some phone games that, stimulate my mind. There's one game that I really, really enjoy. I'm a big geography buff. So there's a game about geography where you can do states or countries and there's levels to it, right? For states, it's pretty easy for me. I do 50 out of 50 with no problem. But countries, they do it based on continent. And I'm the best overall with Europe. I can do to the 3rd level. But unfortunately with North America, I can only beat the first level, which is sad. We're from North America, but you know, it's hard with islands, right? The Caribbean. So Lisa, what games do you play that stimulate your mind?
Thank you, Table Topics Master. I personally don't have the drive to play games on my phone. I get extremely frustrated with it, to be honest with you. My mom is actually currently in the hospital. She is sick. She had surgery. She was given a game. It's kind of like the game where you twist it and you make shapes out of it and things like that. That entertained me for like an hour. You have to twist it and like make shapes out of the different colors and things like that. That is more of the kind of games that I like to play, things that actually make you take time to think versus playing games on your phone. I don't get any benefit out of games on your phones. Like the Wordle game, that game makes me crazy. When you take time to try to figure out all the words that you can make out of the different blocks, that makes me nuts trying to come up with words out of different words, like Scrabble and games like that. I just don't get any benefit out of those types of games. So I prefer old school games. So thank you, Table Topic Master.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, I enjoyed those games as well. My favorite old school game is Tetris. But
Yeah.
my big sister beat me every time at it. She would just destroy me. So that concludes our table topics sections. I would go for timers. Adelita, did they meet their time? All the contestants?
Yes, they did. Did you
Okay.
want me to read each one of them, or they all?
That's fine. They all met. That's good. Thank you, Adelita. Now let's go to Karen Lee. Did the grammarian, did they all say the word of the day?
Yes, everyone said the word of the day.
Okay, that's fantastic. So if you could go to the vote counter. Who is the vote?
Our vote counter, formerly known as iPhone, is now Jessica.
Okay, send your votes to Jessica. And it was Rob who talked about never going to a spa. The first speech. The second one was Madeline, who talked about her sleep routine and her cats and dogs that wake her up at night. Karen Lee spoke about her vacations, going skiing in the mountains. Then Chad talked about eating more vegetables and loving bread. Finally, it was Lisa who spoke about not really liking games, but playing a game that twisted things into shapes. So please send your votes to Jessica. Okay, we'll move on to our evaluation portion of our meeting, which is run by Mark Sims.
Thank you, Justin. This is the general evaluation portion of the meeting. And what we will do is hear from the speech evaluator. We'll hear reports from several of the different duty holders. And I will go over my thoughts on how the meeting went. Now, for starters, we had one speaker tonight, that being John Vessels. He is going to be evaluated now by Tom Turicki. So Tom, please give us John's speech evaluation.
Thank you very much, Mark. So I was looking for how effectively John communicated the change with both tone and also ample impact about the change and the info about the impact of that change. So John, my perception is you excelled on the tone. Your tone for this talk was very matter of fact, which struck me as very apropos for this type of communication. in particular, you shared a mix of factual information and you delivered that very matter-of-factly. And then you also shared interpretations about it, things that you liked or didn't like. And you became a little bit more emotional, a little bit more animated when you delivered those parts of the information. And I liked that. In fact, that was one area I think you could have even gone farther with. The other thing that I was looking for, ample info about the impact, I noticed that you led by addressing up front who the audience was, timekeepers and managers. That got my attention right up front. I also liked that you led with the problem we're trying to solve. And I liked that you acknowledged issues that your audience, the listeners, your users may not necessarily like about the change. I thought that was effective. Now, if I understood correctly, the key point about the change that you are rolling out was really in the timekeeping app and the change that in the way it would handle if people were not scheduled to work, that there would be 2 rows present and how that was handled. So a thing you might want to work on is a cleaner delineation of that particular point, the handling of how people not scheduled to work would be handled and 2 rows showing up versus the other part, the mobile app that's coming. Another fairly small thing that I thought you could work on is I like the fact that on the Zoom, a lot of your torso was shown, but we didn't see much hand motion. It looked like your hands were just kind of down at your side, most of it. Or if they were motioning too low below where the camera could see it. So something to challenge yourself on. My perception after I started thinking about the content that you delivered was you buried the headline. To me, if I put myself in the shoes of the audience member, the headline is there's a mobile app coming. When you described the benefits of that and the cool stuff coming there, that sounds huge. So something and it also sounded like that was sort of a throw-in, an ancillary thing to the meat of your presentation, if I understood it correctly. That was kind of how I interpreted it. And so I think a thing that you could do that might be really effective would be to give a teaser that something big is coming, cover the meat and bread, and then give them the dessert. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Tom. What we also want to do is hear from several of our duty holders. And our counter is Madeline.
Time.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Yeah. Karen, what was the time on that? Or Adelita, I'm sorry.
That was 3 minutes and 24 seconds. Equality.
Okay. Well, Tom just slipped in under the wire. I was getting worried when I saw that red card up. So thank you for that. And since we only had one evaluator tonight, we will not vote on best evaluator, but that was a very good one that I will refer to here in a minute. And our counter tonight is Madeline. So Madeline, please give us your report.
Thank you. Let's see. I caught a couple uhs from Karen, a few you knows from Dagan. Chad had a couple uhs. I had a solid Lisa an and Tom an Other than that, didn't hear anything. Thought everyone did a great job. So.
Thank you. Our grammarian is Karen Lee. Karen, please give us your report.
I had Dagan that had several great uses of the English language when he was given his report about social mental self-care. He mentioned to mentally challenge ourselves, Sudoku puzzles, spiritual practices, meditation. He also mentioned the self-care to reduce anxiety, to improve resilience, to schedule time for yourself, diet, exercise, meditation. when Madeline was given her tabletop, her table topic, she mentioned her cat having the zoomies. And I thought that was a very good, interesting use of the English language. Everyone used the word of the day in table topics. And back to you, Mark.
Thank you. Our posture monitor is Mark Schroeder. Mark, please give us your report.
One thing I'm going to talk about tonight is the fact that some people have an odd framing of the way they're using their cameras. It does show up, interestingly enough, when you're trying to look at postures. And so I'm going to make some comments about camera angles. I recognize that in some cases, in many cases, they're attached to a laptop, and the laptop itself has got it in the top section. And so you have to adjust the angle to adjust the camera. If you have that issue and want to try to solve it, I can work with you on eBay to try to find really cheap cameras that can help you solve that problem and put the camera wherever you want to. But let me go ahead and talk about the posture monitor tonight. And I'm going to start with Dagan. Dagan was interesting because Dagan seems to have, he looks like he's in his broadcasting studio in the sense that he's got his microphone to camera left, but he is still trying to do the best he can to face us, and doing a pretty good job of facing us with his microphone to the camera left. He clearly had his notes to camera right, because you could tell that from his eye motions. The one thing that was good in particular was he would look at his notes. You could tell that he was looking to his left, our right for notes, but then after he would list a point, he would use a good amount of time to paraphrase and talk about that particular point while he was looking at the camera. So that was good. With regard to his gestures, many of his gestures used his, ooh, is that right? Left, I wrote left hand, I've got it wrong, depending upon whether or not my camera is reversed. It was camera right, that may be his left hand, but since he was at a slight angle to us, there was a camera on one side, or a microphone on one side, and he was heavily using the other hand in the open space, and not necessarily being even with regard to both left and right. He was not being quite ambidextrous. So just wanted to point that out, should it matter to anyone. John, I have to comment on the same thing that other people did. You had the vertical framing in order to give more of your body and bigger image of yourself than just, you know, the headshot, but it was a missed opportunity because while you had the camera framed well, you were still very static. We hardly ever saw your hands, if at all. You just did not move your hands much at all for any gesturing. So a missed opportunity there. Justin, I like the way you're framed. You did raise your hands into the frame several times. Perhaps they were into the frame, they had to come up into the frame, they were not there all the time, but you did get them up into the frame, so that's good. So the gestures were well timed and went with what was going on, so very good there. Karen Lee, Karen, you are also cropped a little bit too tight. We can barely even see your chin at times, so unless you're going to touch your face, and we're in a pandemic, you're not supposed to be touching your face much, we're not going to see your hands. So unless you can move back or something, or change camera or camera angle, it's going to be difficult to improve that. But we're seeing from about, you know, a little bit above the chin up sometimes. Lisa, I thought that you have a similar issue. You're framed a little bit too low. Again, could be where the laptop monitor is. We're seeing about, you know, we're barely seeing from chin high on you as well. So if you're going to use your hands, there was obviously hand motion going on. We would see a flicker every once in a while, but they're not coming high enough in order to see us based on where you've got your camera. Tom, eye contact. The thing that I saw there, you appeared to be having a two monitor setup as far as I could tell. You were looking to one side for your notes, which was camera left, your right. And then when you would look for other things, you would look clear to the other side. We were looking at the camera less often than I would like to see. So make sure that you pay attention to camera contact. You did have a lot of hand gestures. The one thing that I would recommend, you're pretty close to right on the frame. So we're seeing a lot of the hand gestures. If I would recommend anything, I think you maybe could move the camera down just a little bit, maybe give us about 6 more inches. If you give us about 6 more inches, we would see a lot more of your hands. So those are my comments with regard to both camera framing tonight, which isn't something that we don't normally comment on, and the gestures that I noticed. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you. And Mark Schroeder, please tell us that is not actually your living room right now.
That is in fact a Zoom background put on from the web. No, it is not my, but it just seemed appropriate for today. So I decided I would put that one up. It was the fastest, the worst one I could find that didn't have people in it, because if people were in it, they weren't going to be moving and you'd never believe it.
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad that is not your fate. Does conjure up some bad memories from last year.
Yes, I'm sure it does.
What I want to do now is go over some thoughts that I had about the way the meeting was conducted. I think it was good that we had made plans earlier in the week to have this virtual, given the possibilities of really bad precipitation. I don't think it's got it maybe as bad as it could have, but probably enough so that we're better off doing this from our homes. We started a couple of minutes late. We had quite a bit going on as the meeting time started. What I really like is that we've got a really good attendance tonight, 16 people, including 3 guests, and that is really good. And once we're getting past this pandemic hangover and getting several new great members, and that is really great. I think Rob did a good job on the invocation, and sometimes it's easy for us, and I frankly do this a lot of the time, just go straight to the pledge, don't think as much about a good thoughtful word on the invocation, because it's hard to find something that's good and thoughtful and appropriately timed, appropriately short, but Rob managed to. As far as the word of the day that Karen provided for us on Drive, she provided one I can say and spell and understand, so that is very helpful. As far as the theme tonight on self-care, what I noted is that Dagan really expanded that into all the different ways to consider self-care: physically, mental, social, spiritual. And most important of all, the topic seemed important to Dagan, and therefore that made it more important to us, because it seemed like a very good, sincere topic. John's speech on future changes, it was good in that we all may be in a position where we're having to communicate changes to a group of people before, and many times when you do that, you see maybe arms crossed or eye rolling, that kind of thing. So it is good to have a good example on an effective way to communicate change. And John, if I don't work for you, but if I did, I probably would have felt some judgment, since I'm usually the guy groaning whenever the thought of change comes up. On table topics, Justin did a good job on leveraging off the meeting theme to ask questions. Got some good, interesting responses. I saw that after calling on a couple of people, he went back and then gave a general summary on basically how table topics worked. So he caught that, and so it's usually good to have that up front. But if you catch that along the way, go back and start over. And he did a good job on picking a good cross section of people to respond to questions, and then summarizing at the end, since there were several respondents, summarizing what each contestant spoke on, so that we could vote in an informed manner. I think in the evaluation section, Tom's evaluation of John was thoughtful, very strongly delivered, several good ideas, and Tom seems to do a good idea or a good job in coming up with recommendations in his speech evaluations. So overall, I know there is just one speaker tonight instead of 2, but the meeting seemed full, seemed like it went smoothly. And again, it was very well attended, which is nice. What I want to do at this time is to call for a vote on the best, what we call the big three. And the big three, or you can choose between the best of our Toastmaster, Dagan Newland, our Table Topics Master, Justin Faust, or the General Evaluator, me, Mark Sims. And so please vote for either Dagan or Justin or Mark, and please send that by private chat to Jessica. And while you are doing that, I will turn that over to our club president, Leakey.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Just a few announcements, but before I get to the announcements, I do want to have the opportunity for us to meet all of our guests. So guests, if you will please share with us two things: how you found us, and well, actually three things: how you found us, what brought you to Toastmasters, and then finally what you thought about our meeting. And we will go ahead and start with Chad.
Thank you, Lee. Hey, y'all, I'm Chad. I was a member of Toastmasters. We had a chapter at my work several years ago, and I knew from going often, I definitely saw an improvement in my communication skills and confidence and that sort of thing. And I've just noticed over the years, not doing much presenting and that sort of thing, that I fumble for the words some. And so I just wanted to get more in the practice of getting better at that. And I just found you guys by a quick Google search. I really enjoyed the meeting. Glad to be here.
Okay. Our next guest for this evening, actually, I guess we're down to two guests. So our second guest for this evening would be Sandra. Sandra, will you please share with us those three things? I believe you're on
Sandra, you're
mute.
still on mute.
You could have stepped away, maybe.
Maybe she's
May have stepped away.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and move on then. We do have at least one new member that we need to vote on. And that would be,
Suleiman.
yes. And that person is not online for this evening, so we can actually go ahead and just do the vote. Do I have a motion to accept our new member?
I motion
Yes.
to accept.
All right. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Okay, is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. We have yet another new member.
Thank goodness. I had already sent him a text that said he was now a member.
Oh, perfect.
My bad.
All right, just a couple of other announcements. Please remember that dues are due.
Lee, real quickly before you do that, a couple of
Yes.
other quick things with regard to our guests. I just wanted to let you know, Chad, my guess is that you are the same Chad Martin that visited us back, or that contacted us back in September of 2021. If so, you are already on our guest list. Is that correct?
Yes, he said yes.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. All right, and Sandra, you're new. I've put you on our guest list, but I just needed to confirm that both of those were correct. All right, thank you so much.
Okay. Dues are due.
Yeah,
They
let me
are
say, can I say,
$90 for 6 months.
let me say
In the
something about
event of
Wait.
Chad, however, you would have to pay the $90 plus a very small prorated amount. You would not have to pay the new membership fee, however, since you are, I believe you said you were in Toastmasters before.
Hmm.
And for Sandra, it would be $90 plus the small prorated amount, and then the $20 one-time fee for joining Toastmasters. The rest of us, it is $90. Please keep in mind that that does cover our rent at Ozona.
All right, can I
Also-
interject? Can I interject real quick? I
Yes,
just want to let everybody know if they haven't checked their email lately, they did get a invoice sent to the email for the renewals. And I also say tonight's meeting was just on fire.
okay, yes. So please keep an eye out for that email and we can pay through Square. Also, we had 2 people represent our clubs very well, our club very well at the Area 33 contest. So thank you to Justin and Mark Sims for representing as well. Finally, we will meet again online. It will be virtually only next week, simply because both of the rooms at Ozona are full. And at this point, just trying to find another location that we can do a hybrid meeting would be a little bit difficult. And given the fact we have quite a few people that are still using the online option, we figured it would be easier to just make everything virtual for next week. So please remember, virtual only for next week. And with that, I will now go ahead and turn the meeting over.
Let me do one other quick thing, if I may.
Okay.
Since we have new members and we have lots of people who are going to be working with new members and filling out the membership app, let me show you something new that is on our website to make that a little bit easier. We have always had, this is our website, Dallas Social, sorry, Toastmasters.com. And in our visitors and guest area, we have the guest packet down here, the link down here at the bottom. When you click on that, you will find that there's a guest membership, a membership application for Toastmasters International. This is what it looks like. You can't really fill it out directly from here, but if you download it to a PC or a Mac, and even to a phone or or a tablet, if you have the right app, you can click here and fill in stuff. It's not clear that you can do it. It'll let me try to do it here, but of course it's still the one off the website, so it's not going to let me save it back. There's no way. I'm not going to let you write your information to our website. So you'll have to download a copy in order to do. You can probably fill it out and then download a copy, though. That might work. But the thing that is new is this section down here has always been a problem for people because the dues and fees, let me say this as politically correctly as I can. Toastmasters International is very good at making sure they get their cut of our action, but they don't make it very easy to make sure that the club gets our cut of the action to make sure that we can pay for a room. The little spot here in the gray box is ours, and there is, as you can see, zero guidance as to how to fill that out. So to make that a little bit better, I've put together this little spreadsheet. And while it is small, you'll be able to zoom it with no problem. It does specify up here that the total dues are 45 and that the TMI portion is 45. So they get 45, we get 45 when we're at $90 for 6 months. The first schedule here is if you happen to be a brand new member. We are a districted club. I don't even have the table for the undistricted. But if you're a new member, you use this table. If you're a returning member, it's this table. And what you will find here is right here by month, this takes into account the fact that we pay every 6 months and it's prorated in between. And what you'll see is new member fee, membership dues, total payment to international, club new member, blah, 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 blah. Those correspond identically to the titles of the line items here on this form. So that makes it a little bit easier to figure out exactly which lines to put numbers on and which numbers to put on which lines. All you have to do when you're filling out the form is pick the right row and use all of the numbers from that row onto this form. And if you do that, you'll have a correct one for the month that you would be joining. And I think with that, I can go ahead and stop the share and give it back to you, Lee. Thank you.
All right, at this time, let's go ahead and hear who won. Jessica.
Alrighty, so for the best table topics, the winner is Madeline. Congratulations. And then for the best of big three, our winner is Dagan tonight. So congratulations to the both of you. You guys did an awesome job.
All right, and of course, keep in mind our best speaker for the evening will be our only speaker, John Vessels, and our best evaluator for this evening would be our only evaluator, Tom, both of which qualified on time. With that, the meeting is adjourned.
All right, thank you, everyone. As Zoom coordinator, I will be stopping the recording in 3, 2,